give you the antidote for lunch. My name is Raghu. I work with Gopal Krishna Deshpande Center. Somewhere there you see it. Yeah. So that's some of you are probably familiar with it. So we are a center established about 2 years back at IIT Madras here, but our charter is to work with all colleges across STEM colleges across India and try and see if we can get ideas at your stage, which are deep tech ideas. How do you nurture them? How do you make them more commercially oriented? Let me just have a quick intro of your project so that I keep in mind. So we can just go around. We can start maybe team by, yeah.
Hi, I'm from InfiLabs. At InfiLabs, we are developing a handheld quality assessment device for the supply chain of food processing industry.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm Utsav Bhardwaj.
Each of you is one member teams?
My teammate has an exam.
Okay. All right. Utsav.
Utsav Bhardwaj from Team Miltech, registered as a startup.
I'm sorry, team?
Miltech.
Miltech.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now registered as a startup called DevTech Systems Private Limited. So we are working on a smart and hybrid bulletproof jacket equipped with some health monitoring capability. So now the module here is real-time and remote health tracking and monitoring system, and primarily delivery catering to for Indian Army.
You already found your customer?
It's like there was a problem statement rolled by you can say MOD. So we are fulfilling that.
So you're making a jacket. Good.
My name is Thomas and I'm a final year electronics student and I'm working with warehouse inventory analysis drones.
Warehouse drones.
Yeah.
Okay. You made a drone?
Yeah, we've made it.
Flies around?
Yeah.
You're looking for a warehouse now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sir, my name is
Yeah, we just spoke.
Yes,
Blockchain guys. Blockchain for?
smart metering.
Smart metering. Okay. Sorry, what's your name?
Aditra Bhavan, ARITRA.
Aritra. Okay. And there are two of you, right?
So,
Shovik. Okay. Blockchain. Okay. Then?
My name is Tito. This is Geet.
Titu.
Tito. Tito.
Titu. Okay. And Deep.
Geet. G-E-T. Geet. Right.
Geet. Oh, sorry.
So we are into robotics. So our product is a pharmacy automation robot. Basically, you get the prescription. The robot dispenses the medicine.
He goes home from the shop to the home?
No. In the shop.
Inside the shop?
Yeah, inside the shop. So improving workflow efficiency of a pharmacy or a hospital workflow. Mainly handling the rush hour queues and all that stuff.
So this is like a pharmacy store.
Yeah.
It's a flying drone? It's a drone.
Every hospital has a pharmacy, or we have outside the pharmacy. There's a rack robot. So basically, there's a robot that will be moving around the rack, picking up the medicine, delivering it at a delivering point. So basically, you have to enter the prescription and the
Okay, so it's a robo in a
pharmacy.
robo in a pharmacy. Okay, nice. If you can make it work, it'll be great.
We are building one.
Wonderful. Yeah.
I'm Srinivasan from Squarecom, and we are into virtual reality headsets and software for the industrial and manufacturing training.
Virtual reality headsets.
Yeah.
Just the headset.
Except for the smartphone and the training content.
Software also
Yeah.
for industrial training.
For industrial and manufacturing training.
Like what will you do? What training?
Whatever the
Welding? Things like welding?
no, not exactly the welding.
Ah.
Whatever the regular classroom-based training that they have right now, we are transforming that into a virtual reality-based solution, which will reduce their existing cost to more than 50%.
Anybody, it doesn't matter, right, wrong. What's the difference between revenue and pricing?
Revenue.
You have to be loud. You have to wake people up.
Pricing is a cost to customer
Cost to the customer is?
price,
Okay.
and the overall money which comes in to the company is revenue.
It's revenue. It's not price.
Like it emerges out of the price, but overall it's like summed up thing.
Okay. All right. Anyone else?
Revenue is the ways in which a company can generate funds.
The way in which, and like what are the ways?
See, some people have a product, they have a service, and they upsell cross-sell. Those are all like that's the revenue models, and pricing is what we charge the customer, like that particular cost.
Okay.
Revenue is something for the whole company perspective is the revenue. And pricing is more customers
Okay.
down.
What you need to see is look at the word revenue model.
Different models are there.
So, I don't think any of you is wrong, but fundamentally, pricing is a tactics. You may want to give something free. You may want to, give somebody who's buying 1,000 pieces, one rate, and somebody who comes, just buy one piece once in a way, you may want to charge him differently. That's pricing. So your pricing can vary. Revenue model is how your company or your startup will earn money. At the end of the day, your segmentation, your value proposition, your acquisition, your servicing, everything has to make money. When you go and stand in front of an investor, right? Tomorrow, he's going to be interested in this. Where's your revenue plan? Right? So you have to have a very concrete answer to how your company will make money. How will your company make? If there's a one-line question, how do you make money? So you can say it's by selling, it's by delivering. That's all English. But where does the rubber meet the road? That's the question it is. Okay. So some basic concepts. Let's get this right. It's useful to get this correct. Okay. So it comes up here in the bottom line, bottom right hand side of your BMC. Okay. But it is linked to all of these. It's directly linked in many cases to all of this. Any problem?
No.
Not with me? Okay. All right. So you need to look at revenue model and pricing tactics in tandem. They're linked together, right? Have you discovered what is type of market before? Did anybody cover that? All right. I'll just spend a little bit of time on. I'm okay. I'm fine. I think he needs it for the video, right? Okay. We're all good. Hi. Settle down. So he is my colleague. He is the Chief, Shiva Subramaniam. He is the Chief Innovation Officer at GDC. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there's something called a type of market, and you'll have to gauge and understand what it means for each of you. And let me explain very broadly, because that's not part of what I'm doing, but it's useful to have that background. So one market is completely a new market. This market didn't exist before, and it's a completely so disruptive an innovation that it comes in and changes it. Can you give me an example of a completely new market? Alexa. Alexa is a product. What's the market?
Home speakers, AI, like smart speakers.
Okay, which interact with. All right, I'd buy that. Okay, although in a way it's just a device. It's a different way of accessing the internet. So I'm not fully sure. Your keyboard and computer is just good at, So yeah, there is an innovation there, but innovation means, I'm talking about new type means the market didn't exist. TVs, televisions when they first came in. Very correct. Not really. Okay. So the second kind of market is where it's an existing market and you just get into it and you become one more competitor. That's the other end of it. All right. So there's so many. I want to make another slide changer. That slide changer it'll go onto my wrist. It will be voice activated. I can have many things, right? Here I have to figure out I press a wrong button. So you may want to make another one. That's a slide changer. Slide changer is an existing market. You may have an innovation, right? But it's essentially the same thing. There's something else in between where the innovation is not completely new, but it shifts. And I would actually put an Alexa there, more there. which is called a resegmenting the market. Okay, so it resegments the market. There's another type of market which is called a single side market and a double side market. Have you heard of this? No? Yes?
As an example, Uber, double side.
Uber is a double side. What is a double side? Two doors?
Driver as well as the rider.
Yeah, what?
One cannot exist without the other.
That I can say. The consumer in any market cannot exist without the seller.
No, meaning if to have a cab, you need drivers. With the cab,
To have this, I need a shop. I need a shopkeeper.
no, Uber's complete business model different.
Be precise. What is a double-sided market?
Two sets of customers,
Two sets of customers.
two different sets of customers, both complementing each other.
So I could be selling this to schools, and I could be selling this to corporates.
But corporate and school are not interlinked. Here, drivers and riders are interlinked.
Yeah.
Means what?
One cannot live without the other.
Yeah.
Okay, you need to get more precise.
No.
Think.
Yeah.
Think of Google. Think of Google. All of you use Google,
Yeah.
right? What are you? Are you Google's customers? Are you customers of Google?
Both product and customer.
Yeah.
Are you a customer of Google or not? Yes? Is there any doubt in that? Do you pay Google? Does Google bother about you? He doesn't bother about you? He doesn't bother about him.
Bothers but in indirect ways.
Data collection.
What? Why?
And that means
Why does he bother?
Cater to specific needs, unique.
Sorry?
If we are not your need, they don't have a product.
What is the product?
Our data.
Where does Google make money?
advertisement.
So who's paying him?
Advertisers.
Advertisements are not human beings. Who's paying Google?
Companies who are putting advertisements.
Exactly, advertisers. Advertisements don't pay themselves. Advertisement is a message, right? So in a media business, Google is a media business, right, of a kind. So any newspaper will be of the same kind. Television channel, most of them, not the pay channels, the ones which are free to air, for example, right, are those ways. So you have a type of, these are both sided markets. So you as a consumer are not paying, but you're consuming, but your characteristics, data, information, your pattern of usage, what you see is tracked by some way, and that's communicated to people who are interested. So that's a both sided market. Uber is a both side market. It's a two sided market, right? Because who's the customer of Uber?
Riders and drivers.
Right? Both drivers and riders are customers. Drivers are also partners. They have multiple roles, right? They supply, I mean, they are one of the supply chain, part of the supply chain for Uber.
They don't pay to Uber.
They do pay. They share their revenue. If I were a driver running a taxi, not Uber, I keep it to myself. I pay some taxes to government, right? That's okay. But now that if I become a driver with Uber, Uber is giving me some service, and I share my revenue with him. In fact, the revenue sharing is the other way around. I'm only a conduit to paying him, right? And then he gives me back my money. That's how it works. It's the other way around. Uber pays him. Okay? So it's a multi-sided market. Any more examples? Zomato, brilliant, right? So you have hotels, you have consumers. So consumers are giving feedback, right? And that feedback, the user feedback, then is used by others. So Zomato is getting stuff done for free. Amazon is another great example, right? You give feedback, and that's travel websites, if you look around. So these are called multi-sided markets. You have to be clear, what kind of a market are you getting into? If you are getting into completely new kind of market, right, your revenue pricing will have to be very, very different. I mean, many things have to be different, but revenue particularly so. So it's linked, as I told you. So your value proposition, if you're getting into an existing market, there probably are gorillas sitting there, who are waiting to eat you up. Your pricing strategy, your revenue strategy has to take cognizance of these people. You cannot come in and say, I am the, Raja here. It doesn't work. But it doesn't mean that, you act small, you sneak under the radar. There are various strategies to get in. So you have to understand the type of market that you are in. Very rarely, very, very, very rarely do you find a company that's actually in a new market. Apple, when it came with an iPhone, smartphone, was substantially new market. It just changed it killed Nokia. Nokia was I don't know how many of you guys were old enough to be in Nokia, right? Nokia died 10 years back, right? But when Nokia was supposed to be the leader, it killed BlackBerry. BlackBerry was the king of business communication. Just kind of killed over. It was the smartphone that killed it. Okay, the ecosystem around it, all kinds of things. So it created a completely new market. You look at iTunes, what is it called, that device? iPod, yeah? Sorry, thank you. iPod completely created a new market for music. Well, music was heard before, but it created 3 or 4 new markets there. The way music got sold, it was no longer as records. You could buy a song. You could buy a song of your choice. You could carry music in your pocket. That's how it was advertised. It was as big as a calling card or a set of calling cards. That's how it was, right? That concept existed before. Sony had brought Walkman, but it kind of combined all of those, and then you could pick your song. You didn't have to go serially. You could pick your song, and then it had the concept of the what is that called? App Store, right? The Apple Store. So you could, so there were disruption all around. That's a new market. Okay, so these are very hard things to do. BlackBerry was a new market, by the way. Although one can argue it was a resegmented market of the emails, but it completely changed many things. So you have to be clear. Yeah, I'll come to that. So you have to be clear. The fourth segment I forgot is a cloned market. This something has worked in the US, has worked in Europe. Can I duplicate it here? So I just have the same technology. So if you look at Flipkart, was a cloned market of Amazon. Ola is a cloned market of Uber, right? I mean, there are many other models. I mean, you can go on and on. Nothing derogatory about it. You're just smart. You just did it legitimately and properly. That's a cloned market. Obviously, you have to do different things differently and all that. So your revenue model. Now, why is revenue model dependent on type of market? Any idea? Why should you even worry about these things?
Purchasing power of each market is different.
No, that's nothing to do with type of market.
And the way we have to cater to them is different. So revenue, for example, some will be SaaS product, some will have to be physical product, some will be on a subscription, rental, different.
That's fine, but that doesn't answer the point, right? Your revenue model needs to understand. So if you are, we'll do this with examples, but very simply put, if you are not aware of what your product or service, what kind of market it's getting into, then what is your basis for pricing? The next question I'll ask is this. So if your service is being consumed by one person, but somebody else is paying your revenues, why is that somebody paying your revenues? So if you understand any company which is following the Google pricing model, right, which means they get paid for advertising, the number of times, what do they call it? Your eyeballs, right, or footfalls. Nobody is actually consuming anything. You're going and just searching something, and for all you know, you are paying nothing. It doesn't matter. Okay, you actually couldn't care less. Somebody else is paying Google. What is the basis of that pricing? How does Google charge?
Number of clicks.
Number of clicks you make? Who makes?
The visitors on the website or app.
Make on what?
That particular ad.
That
Exactly.
particular ad.
Right.
The advertising agency or advertising guy pays Google.
Correct. So the number of times you view it, and that is, you click it with your eyes closed, that's not counted. That's also counted. What I mean is, right? Google, nobody is monitoring you whether your eyes were open, you read it, you understood it, you acted. That's all.
Screen time also matters.
So there are various metrics used for figuring out how you will get paid. Now therefore, what is important here in a model like this is you need to have a very large number of viewers or users. That's very good. So that's the reason why there are a lot of startups who are just burning money to acquire customers with no revenue in sight, with no apparent revenue in sight, because their model is dependent on an indirect pricing where the rack rate depends on number of people who view. You get it? So that's their revenue strategy, or that's their money raising strategy, or that's their marketing strategy and all of that. So if you look at today Paytm is a multi-sided market. Okay, Paytm is huge. He is going on an acquisition. Any mobile wallet will need users. Whether they make money, they spend, that's all different. But they need massive number of shopkeepers or establishments that kind of accept it. They need a number of people like you and me who will use the wallet. Okay. They also needed a bank. Now that they have a banking license, that is absolved. Okay. So it's a multi-sided market, like a Visa card, Visa or a MasterCard. It's a multi-sided market. Just having 1 million users doesn't work if no shop accepts it. Similarly, having 1 million shops accept it with very few shoppers is no more. So you need a balance there, and I think the pricing starts to vary depending on whether it's an advertisement model or if it's both people pay. So in the case of credit cards, earlier you needed to pay money for credit. Now I think many credit cards are free, right? So it's again one-sided. So the merchant actually pays that the merchant charges, and of course the bank makes money in making the loan, right? If you roll the credit over. So basically these kind of models, the revenue pricing depends on where is the money being paid to whom and what is the basis for that payment. You need to understand. So think through your revenue model. Are you a one-sided market, in which case some of these complications don't matter? If you're a two-sided market, then you need to understand who's paying money. Do you need to be a two-sided market? That's another question you need to ask yourself. Okay. So how do you interact with the segment? How does the revenue model interact with the segment? Now what does that mean? If I have an electric car today, an EV vehicle, there is a sticker shock. The price just bumps up. A scooter today, an IC engine scooter costs something like 40, 50, I don't know what it costs, 40, 50, 60,000. But an electric vehicle will cost about 2 or 3 times that money straight away. There's a sticker shock. Maybe it will come down. Maybe there will be other pricing models. But right now, the revenue model interacts with the sticker. Does it give a shock? Does it not give a shock? Does it need something else in the business model to fund it? So all these kind of issues start coming in. Okay. Has an impact on the channel. How does revenue have an impact on the channel? You understand what channels are, right? See, I need you to think, otherwise these are just random bullet points. That's why I'm going slow.
Because only you give a person margin to them, so as long as you consider
Margin. Their earning power depends on how you charge. Okay? So if you charge low and charge a high capital price, they may not get. But if you have a service model, somebody else makes money. So channel is a critical role, partner for you that you will have to keep in mind as you build your revenue strategy. If your revenue strategy or your revenue model does not aid the channel, you have an enemy right away. You have a barrier right away. So you have to ensure that your revenue model aligns with the expectations of your distribution model or your partner. By the way, Uber and drivers, have you seen the conflict? What does he say? Give me cash.
Yeah.
Why? There's a conflict here.
Same regarding cancelling the ride.
Exactly.
He would ask us to cancel every time.
So there's lots of things. See, you have to learn from these things. the objective here is not just to teach you. My objective here would be to sensitize you so that you start looking at what do you need to do to figure out what exactly is happening. Okay? The revenue model also relates with how customers are acquired, served and retained. Very, very customer acquisition. This is something all startups really struggle with. There are startups which will work for 3 years and have no revenues to show. Nice product, worked, tested, dusted, everything done. No revenues. Because customer acquisition is very, very hard to do. It's a very underappreciated part of startups amongst founders. Once you acquire him, then you find out how you service him, retain him. I mean, those are other problems. But acquisition is where, if you can acquire 100 customers, 1,000 customers, your valuation shoots up because you have crossed a very big hump. You have gained customer acceptance, initial acceptance. Now, how the user experience is, whether they come back to you again, that depends on how you deliver. But as a startup, there is no record that you can acquire customers. That's the biggest barrier that you have, the first and biggest barrier you have to cross. And you have to acquire them enough numbers. So the entire business model canvas really talks about who your customers are, who are the best guys who can come, and therefore the revenue plan should not be a put off for them. It should help in customer acquisition. It should help in getting in revenue. Everything else follows thereafter. So there are these 3 or 4 reasons why you think of a revenue plan is as critical as any of the ones that you talked about, value proposition or acquisition or channels or any of those. So the right hand side, whatever you have, all these things matter, right? In acquiring your customers, who you want to build, and this is why you do all of that. They all have to be in synchrony. We'll see about later that they also have to be in synchrony with the left hand side of your canvas. Okay? Okay. So the revenue model is simply the strategy by which your company generates cash from your customers, from each customer segment. So different customer segments can have a very different revenue model. That's not the price. That's not the pricing tactics. So revenue model is the strategy. It is linked to the value that you provide. You go to Taj, you will get a cup of tea. You go to the roadside dhaba, you will get a cup of tea. Taj will give you a tray, he'll give you some biscuits, he'll give you something else, they'll smile more at you, right? The AC will be there, chai fellow will say, hey, rende chai pudpa. That's what he'll say, right? Or whatever he'll say, something like that. He'll say, Ramu chai lao, something he'll say, and that's it. That's a customer service for you. But at the end of the day, you're drinking tea. That's 1,000 rupees. This is probably 10 rupees. Both are chai. What is Taj having you? Is Taj giving you a cup of tea?
Experience.
Experience. What experience? A very expensive experience. What is experience?
The environment.
Yeah. So you go to Taj for something else. It's not just the tea, right? It's the status. You feel good about it. You want to show off to somebody. Maybe you're taking your girlfriend there or boyfriend there, whatever it is. You want to make a impact. You've been there. So it could be anything. It could be a celebration, whatever it is. You don't do it at a chai shop down the road, right? You won't think of doing it. So the value proposition is different. The revenue strategy has to be linked to the value. If there is a mismatch, sorry, the guy is not going to buy it. So that's what I mean by saying. Okay? Pricing is the basis. Given the revenue model, the basis, you set the price. I gave you an example. If he's a customer and I'm selling an item, I know he's going to come back every month and buy 1,000 pieces. You're going to come once, you're just visiting from London and you'll go back, I won't see you again. What's my attitude to these two guys? I may have the same revenue model, right? but my basis of pricing will be different. He's a strategic customer for me. He is an opportunistic customer for me. Thoko, isko, that's what you'll do. You're not going to come back again. He's desperate. Give him. This fellow, sir, what do you want, sir? Do you want service? I'll give him discount. I'll do all that. Okay? So the basis that you might use is very different. All right? So keep this in mind. Revenue is different from pricing. So I'm going to talk about a lot of revenue models for you. Now, many of these things you will know. You will know this in some measure, but the reason why I'm bringing them out in this form is so that you can then start internalizing this and start thinking about, look, what kind of revenue model I should have. And if I should have this revenue model, what's the value proposition I am delivering? Is there a sync between the two, or is there something jarring between the two? What's my channel? How am I acquiring? I mean, are they all in sync is what you need to think about. Okay? So there are various kinds of revenue models. And some of these you might know, right? Am I coming in your way? You okay? I'm transparent? Good. So usage fee